welcome to my final video essay. I hope you are ready for a next whole 5 minutes of this voice. Psych. Let's get into the video.
So to start this, I want to talk about how this is a masterpiece. So a masterpiece can be defined as a film that captures a moment in time and emotion that sticks in the heart and the minds of culture. So basically, a masterpiece can be made at any point in time. It's really just supposed to be like truly emotional and stick with you. I really thought that In the Mood for Love was definitely a masterpiece. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I originally was only watching it because I heard that it was just like cinematically gorgeous, and I was like, I just want to look at something pretty because that's where I'm at right now. But I watched it and I was really like, wow, like this stuck with me. I really enjoyed that film. This has got to be in my top 10. Okay, so my thesis is a masterpiece doesn't have to be American made to be a masterpiece. I know that a lot of the films on those lists are made in America or made by somebody who's American, or at least like is part American, like speaks English. Like there are a lot of films on there that are English, but there are like far and few between movies on there that like fall out of that spectrum. And I think that that's really interesting because there are so many foreign films that are so freaking good. That interview that we watched earlier in the year with Vincent Gallo, where he was like, one of my favorite films that I've ever seen was this film that was in, I think it was in Japanese, and he was like, I couldn't understand a thing, but like it was so well put together, like you could understand it without even having to know the language, which is something that I really liked about In the Mood for Love. I think that it was really good in being able to tell the story through like movements and sounds. So when I was looking for a popular review of the film, I turned to Roger Ebert because I like his style of reviewing things. I was reading his review of the movie and he gave it 3 stars. I don't know if I agree with that, but he talks a lot about how normally when a movie is about adultery, it's focused on the adulterers and not the people who have to deal with the adultery, if that makes sense. When their spouses are cheating on them with each other, even though that's the main conflict and the main problem, you never see them, like ever. You don't even see what they look like, you always just hear their voice, which I thought was really interesting. So it kind of pushes the focus onto Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow. Okay, so something he talks about in the review is, he says, for us to do the same thing makes us no better than they are, which I thought was really cool because it brings up kind of the whole theme of adultery somewhat subtly, and it really pushes, I guess, sort of an agenda. It's like sort of a view. They're like, I think that is a mindset of a lot of American films, but it's kind of nice to see that there's like that kind of connection to like all cultures where they still have like the morality tied in. So when I looked at an interview with the director Wong Kar-wai, he talks about how he always wanted to make a film about this period because it's like really special in Hong Kong history, but he says originally the film was called A Story About Food, because in the movie they're just going back and forth buying noodles. He was like, no, I want to expand the story, and then that's how it became the kind of movie that it's known for now, which is kind of cool because I think that's really funny that he was like, oh no, it's just like people buying food, and then it became like this big movie, and now it's literally on the list for like the greatest movies of all time, which is kind of funny. I think that the actions do mean a lot. There's a lot of like little interactions that Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow have that show that they're kind of attracted to each other, even though they're both married and they know that their spouses are cheating on them with one another. I think that the cinematography is absolutely breathtaking. It's so gorgeous. I was watching it, and I was actually watching it with my boyfriend and my best friend, and they had no interest in the movie whatsoever, but they were watching and they were like, oh, this is really pretty, or oh, that's really cool. And I just thought it was funny because obviously, like, for me it's different because like this is my whole major or whatever, But like for people that like don't even give a shit and they're like, oh, like that's really cool, like I think that that's kind of important, that like it really can be eye-catching to like a whole different type of audience, which is nice. I think it really touches on like social constructs about how like adultery is wrong and you shouldn't cheat on people. But I definitely think the acting was super, super good. It was very well thought out. They were very, like, I guess concise and to the point. I thought that they did really well with playing their roles. It was like easy to follow along, especially because watching it with other people, I was kind of distracted, so I didn't get to really read like the entirety of the subtitles, but I feel like I still definitely got the same amount out of it that I would if I had read the whole thing and I was watching it by myself, which was nice. Compared to Mulholland Drive, I do think that they're kind of inspiring in the same way. They do kind of touch on like adultery, obviously with Mr. Chan and Mrs. Chow cheating on Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow, and then versus Mulholland Drive but how Rita was like cheating on Diane with that big movie maker or whatever, and like they both touch on like how that's wrong and how it will really like destroy a person. Something that they don't share though is that I feel like in The Mood for Love I definitely understood way more because it was like more of a concise and clear timeline. Mulholland Drive really threw me for a loop. I'm like still thinking about it and I feel like I have to watch it at least 2 more times before I'm gonna get it. A film that surprised me that I enjoyed this semester was Persona, because it's not that I don't enjoy foreign films, but it's hard for me to connect because I can't understand them as well, which is why I was actually kind of surprised that I enjoyed In the Mood for Love so much. But I thought that this was a really good movie. When I watched Persona, my mind was freaking blown. I was like, this is actually one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I really liked the superimposing and everything, and like the showing that they're like the same person or whatever, like giving you more to think about. And I like how there like wasn't really a clear ending, which not a lot of people like, but yeah, that just brings me back to my thesis saying like not all good movies have to be in English or whatever. There are a lot of foreign films that definitely deserve the same amount of credit as any other A-list movie. I think there should be more foreign films on A-list movies, like the A-list whatever.
Sorry that this is over the amount of time we were supposed to reach, but you know I can never get all of my thoughts out at once.